Okay, so for lesson 2.01 on variables and expressions, we need to talk about what each one of these are. And a variable is a symbol, usually a letter, such as X, Y, or Z, that is used to represent a number. Different numbers can replace the variables to form specific statements. An algebraic expression is a collection of numbers and variables and symbols and grouping symbols and all, etc., etc., etc. These are examples of an expression. The biggest difference between an expression and an equation is an equation has an equal sign, but an expression does not. Okay, so if I look at the expression 2m minus 9, that means 2 times n, then minus 9. 8p squared represents the product of 8 and p squared. A term is a number or a variable or product or a quotient. It's just each part of a set of numbers. Okay, so let's talk about combining like terms. In order to combine like terms, you need to add like things together. Apples to apples, oranges to oranges, x's with x's, and only x's with x's. So if we looked at this problem right here, I have a 7x, a plus 5, a minus 3y, and a plus 2x. In this, what is my like terms? Hint, they're in blue. My 7x and my 2x are like terms. When you add like terms, you only add the number in front of it. So 7x and 2x, what's 7 plus 2? 9, and then I would have 9x. I cannot add the rest of them together because I can only add the 5 if I had other whole numbers, and I could only put the negative 3y if I had other y's. So I would just add the plus 5 and the minus 3y at the end of the problem. I cannot combine these because they're not like terms. Another way to look at this is I have 7 xylophones. I have 2 more xylophones over here. How many total xylophones do I have? 9. So let's look at some problems. In my expression, 3x plus x plus 2, what are my like terms? My 3x and my x. Combine them, 4x plus 2. Okay? I want you to list the like terms and write the simplified expression. Hit pause if you need to. All right, my like terms are my whole numbers, 5 and 4. So this would give me 5y plus 9. You always want to put your variables before your numbers. All right, let's try another one. Look at this one. Hit pause and write the like terms and the simplified expression. In this problem, I have 2 sets of like terms. My y squareds go together, and then my y's go together. I cannot add them together. Think of these like 2-headed monsters and 1-headed monsters. 2 heads go with 2 heads, 1 head goes with 1 head. So I would only combine 3y squared. Now, this doesn't have a number in front of it. What does that mean you have? How many of them? You have 1. So this would be 3y squared plus y squared, and then 4y plus y. So that would give you 4y squared plus 5y. How'd you do on that one? That one was kind of tricky. All right. Remember y squared only with y squared, and they're not the same. 2-headed monster and a 1-headed monster is not the same. They're always written in new alphabetic order. Yes, I made that word up. Numbers, then letters in alphabetic order. Okay, so let's say I had this and I wanted to write a simplified expression for the perimeter. Well, how do you find the perimeter of a figure? You add up all the sides. So you would add up 5x plus x plus 2 plus 3x plus x plus 2. Add like terms, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10x plus 2, and plus 2 is plus 4. Okay, the distributive property. The distributive property says that when you multiply something on the outside of a parentheses, it's the same thing as multiplying it on both of the insides of the parentheses. So this would represent A times B plus A times C. Since when we put the numbers, if we put numbers in there, it'd work the same. For example, if I had 2 times 2y plus 3, I would do 2 times 2y, which would be 4y, plus 2 times 3, which is 6. All right, let's try a couple. I want you to hit pause and try to work this one out. Okay, so if you work this one out, 2 times x is 2x, plus 2 times 3 is 6. How'd you do? Okay, try this one. 12 times x would be 12x, plus 12 times 4 would be 48. All right, this one's a little bit harder. Hit pause and work it out. Okay, so this would be 4 times 2x, which is 8x, plus 4 times 5, which is 20. Now, does that 4 go to the 6x? No, because it only goes to the numbers inside the parentheses. So that 6x just comes down. So now I combine like terms. What's 8x plus 6x? (14x plus 20). All right, so let's try some negatives. This one's tricky. Why don't you hit pause and work it out? Okay, so what's negative 4 times 2x? Negative 8x. And what's negative 4 times 1? Negative 4. Now, the reason I put it as negative 4 and not plus a negative 4 is because this right here is called a double operation. You're not allowed to have it. Have you ever seen a number that looks like this? No, you don't ever use a double operation. Remember, double negatives make a positive. All right, let's try another one. Hit that, work that out and hit pause. Okay, so you should have gotten negative 18x minus 24. How'd you do? All right, let's try another. Hit pause. This one's a little tricky. What is negative 3 times 4x? Negative 12x. But remember that this is a negative 7. Negative 7 and minus 7 are the same thing. So what's a negative 3 times a negative 7? A positive 21. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is evaluating, let me get to the right side, an expression. To evaluate an expression, for example, if I had 3x squared minus 4 and I wanted to evaluate it for x equals 3, what I want to do is plug in my x equals 3 as an unknown into my known. So I would plug in 3 for x. Now, here's the only problem when you're dealing with this kind of a problem is that you've got to follow order of operations. A lot of people want to do 3 times 3 and get 9 and then square it. But we always do exponents before we multiply. So in this particular problem, you're going to do 3 squared first. So you would have 3 times 3 squared is 9 minus 4. Now I can multiply. 3 times 9 is 27 minus 4. And 27 minus 4 is 23. If you hadn't, you would have gotten 81 minus 4, and that's nowhere close to being 23. So make sure you follow order of operations. All right, take a look at this one and evaluate it for x equals negative 2. Hit pause to work the problem out. Okay, so when I work this one out, it's a negative 2. So it's a little bit different. So I'm going to do negative 3 times negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 plus 2. So now I'm going to do the negative 2 squared first. That's going to give me negative 3. What's negative 2 squared? 4 minus 4 times negative 2 plus 2. Now I'm going to do my multiplication. I have two sets. I can do them both at the same time. What's negative 3 since it's separated by an addition or subtraction sign? What's negative 3 times positive 4? Negative 12. Now let's take a look at this. I'm looking at this whole thing right here. It's negative 4 times negative 2, which would be a positive 8 plus 2. All right, what's negative 12 plus 8? Negative 4 plus 2. And what's negative 4 plus 2? Negative 2. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about are verbal expressions. A verbal expression is when you take a set of words and translate them into an expression. This says the sum of a number and 9. Sum being the key word. A number can represent anything. What do we want to make our number? Let's make it n, or x actually. So it would be x plus 9. Or you could also write it as 9 plus x. In addition, it doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. It does in subtraction. So let's look at this one. 7 minus a number. Minus means what? Subtract. So I would do 7 minus x. Why couldn't I do x minus 7? Because this is saying I'm doing 7 minus a number. X minus 7 would be 7 less than a number. Okay, the product of 11 and a number. What does product mean? Multiply. So this would be 11x. Don't use an x for a multiplication sign because then you would have 11xx. And that looks like 11 squared, x squared. The sum of 1/2 a number and 4. Sum, 1/2 a number. How would you write that? 1/2 x plus 4. Now go into locksmanquiz.blogspot.com. Do not hit www and take the quiz for this video. I will see you in class.